Matt, man, how are you, mate?
Tim, good mate. How are you? We're back again. Episode number 2. Hey, here we are.
Number two, who thought, hey? After the first one, we'd be back.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a learning curve, but hopefully people will see improvements.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for listening, Mum.
I'm excited to talk about today's topic. It's going to be epic, and hopefully we can bring some value to everybody. But maybe before we get into it, what have you been up to the last couple of days, last weekend? What's been happening?
Well, over winter, I usually get a bit of a break, catch up on my backlog. But after the hectic season we have, there was no such break. So I'm almost through my backlog. Working on one of our final weddings we did together back in June. So excited to get that out this week.
Yeah,
But not too excited of this change in the weather though.
I know it's pouring. It was like warm and sunny this morning. Now it's pouring this afternoon. So if you can hear rain in the background, that's why.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've got two weddings as well this weekend, and yeah, like the weather is looking so bad.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? I just came off 4 weddings back to back over the weekend, so I'm a little bit like spent, to be honest. So, but it was good weather all 4 of them, so it was pretty cool. And every wedding was different, so that was pretty sick as well. And then I've got another 3 this weekend too. So talk about, I don't know, it's August and I'm just getting absolutely slammed. So yeah, we're just I guess a bit of the COVID backlog is catching up to us. But anyway, we're getting through them, and look, every single wedding's still just as exciting as the last one. So cannot complain too much.
That's it. We should be used to this weather after the last 12 months anyway.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. But anyway, that always works. Let's get into it, eh?
Okay, all right. So, topic for today. What are we chatting about, man? Like, I know I'm super excited to discuss this one because it's a common thing, and I think as difficult as planning a wedding may be, like it does not need to be that difficult. So why don't you shine some light on what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah. So, look, today, obviously, what me and Tim do, we're photographer and videographer. So we're going to maybe dive into our photo and video packages, and I guess just unpack them a little bit and what they look like. Try and simplify some things for you guys, answer some questions, I guess, that we get asked a lot when it comes to, I guess, the initial stages in planning for couples. So, just touching base on a whole lot of, I guess, the questions we get, the information we get from people, and just try and, I guess, unpack that so that when it comes to you guys, I guess, diving into the whole wedding planning world and all that exciting time that it is, you might have a little bit of information, I guess, about what we do, but then maybe what some other people, I guess, in the industry do as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, look, it's an overwhelming process, and look, we completely understand. But it's a scary one too, right? Like, you get married, like the excitement's high. You try and look at venues, you look at your vendors that you're super keen on, but it's it's a scary world, right? Because it can be super overwhelming. Like, you've got so many different options. Like, there's separate like entities, separate companies. So a photographer and a videographer that are combined. There's a photographer separately, a videographer separately. Like, it can be confusing for a couple who are newly engaged just to see that there's so much variability. There's so many different styles. There's so many different, videographers and photographers out there, and there's so many different options for them to choose from. So how can we simplify this for couples?
Yeah, so I think we were having a bit of a chat before, and we were just trying to work out, I guess, what that looks like from our perspective, and then open it up, I guess, to what it looks at potentially other companies. So I guess for me and you, Tim, we're in a position where we both work for ourselves individually, but we were lucky enough to work with each other a few times. We become mates. And here we are today where we do get to work with each other fairly regularly. And so I guess that's probably the option number one, is that, there's Matt Ashton Photography, and then there's Above Below Visuals, and we work together. We have packages that are separate from each other, and we just do what we do. And I guess there are benefits to that. And I guess the main benefit for that is that, look, what we do is very special to us. We are the face of the business. We do all the behind the scenes work. Like I do all the emails, I'll do all your editing, I'll do everything that you see that is Matt Ashton Photography is what you get. And it's the same for Tim with his company as well. Like everything that he does is what you see is what you get. And you're not having just some random turn up on the day and shoot your wedding. And I guess.
Yeah, sorry, man. Like, sorry to interrupt. That's a big one, right? Like, not every couple knows that when they book a photographer or a videographer, if that is the person that's going to be rocking up. Like, sometimes they don't know who's rocking up. Sometimes they think it's, like it could be a company name, but it could just be a random contractor that rocks up on the date, right? Like, and
that's it.
Like
exactly that.
It's one model out there, and I may not like relate to that. I don't think that's perhaps providing the best value for a client, but that's just me. And there's plenty of different options out there, and I think it's more so just finding out what is important to you, like what is important to you as a couple, and what do you want. So
absolutely,
yeah, man, let's dive deeper into this. So, okay,
I've got a question for you, just because you just said something, and I'm like, just got my brain ticking. And I know we've spoken about it. We haven't even got into packages yet, but I just want to touch on, like, so you were just saying then, like, how if someone else turns up, right? For photos, I can have like presets and things like that I can make potentially. Someone else's photos may look semi-similar. I know it's not the same person behind the camera, but for video, I feel like it's very different, right? Like you can't just have, like, I couldn't turn up and start filming a wedding for you because I don't have the same style. So I don't know if I'm throwing you in the deep end here, mate, but maybe just have a quick chat to me about, and like obviously the listeners as well, what that looks like in terms of if you are for you personally, your brand is very specific and you normally bring a vibe. So maybe just talk about how that's different for you versus Joe Blow, who comes and shoots the wedding for you. Not that you do that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. So look, I think when, like, especially with video, it's really easy to see like a style because it's moving frames. So from the way that you shoot, from the way that you like almost direct and interact, like for me, like, yeah, I have a style. Like how I am on the day, like really reflects, the type of vibe that I want to portray. And that really brings out like, like it brings a mood, it brings a vibe for the couple. Like it allows the, like my process is really to be myself and to have a bit of fun. And in return, like my couples, like everyone around like has fun. Like I'm all about lifting that vibe because you know what, like it looks really good on video. Like I don't just want to stand there and tell you to like go kiss in the corner because it's so obvious to see when things are awkward on video. So like over
there's no flow to it.
Exactly. So look, over the years, like I've developed, I suppose, like a style. And if you see my videos, yeah, it's like, it's different, right? It's like, it's unique because it's me. Everyone can shoot like a little bit differently. And, editing also like plays a significant factor in that. And I suppose that's something for another episode that we can dive deep into. But yeah, like when someone picks up a camera and records video, like how they record, how they interact, like the mood that they bring in, how they make like someone feel. Like when you pick up a camera in a room, like it can make other people feel a little uncomfortable. And you know what? Like there's a process like that you try and like really like relate to like a couple in that way. And that's why it's big for me that I don't just rock up on a day and not know the couple. Like I want to know like whose wedding I'm shooting. Like I want to build that rapport. Like I want to rock up as friends and have fun.
Yeah.
Because
I have a great story about that as well. Because I think I'm not going to throw you under the bus with this one, Tim, because I've done it to you before. But I've worked with a videographer before that was a contractor, and in a minute we'll touch base on, I guess, the other style of company that there is when it comes to photo and video packages. But I've rocked up before to this guy. He was working for this company. It was a bigger company, so they had a multiple amount of different weddings going on that day. There was a heap of different shooters, and this guy comes to me. He's like, introduces himself. We'll call him Billy. Billy comes up to me. He says, "Oh, hey Matt, how are you?" I'm like, "Good, mate. How are you?" And he's like, "Yeah, good." And he's like, "We're about to walk into groom prep," and he goes, "Oh, what's the groom's name again?" And I'm like, mate, we're walking in there like in 10 seconds, you don't even know the groom's name. And so I thought, oh, should I tell him the right name or should I stitch him up and just give him something random? And so I definitely gave him something random that was just completely wrong, just because I was like, how can you not know this groom's name? Like, yes, there is a lot going on and all that sort of stuff, but today is his day. And if you're coming to work and you don't know the groom's name, like that is so bad. Anyway, it was pretty funny because he walks in, he's like, oh, hey, Anthony, how are you? He's like, oh, my name's Tom.
Oh man, I can see
so
how that
great.
can just like ruin that vibe completely. Like that dude's just going to be like, who is this guy? Like, why am I paying this money for it?
I probably shouldn't have stitched him up that badly, but I was just so like flabbergasted. And I think at the time I probably hadn't shot that many weddings with videographers that I knew that like, I just thought that if you were a videographer and you got hired, you went and shot the wedding, but that's not the case, clearly. And so maybe we'll just quickly talk about, before we talk about like our specific packages, but let's just maybe like, I guess, dive into a little bit what other companies there are and what those combinations look like. So we've sort of touched base about our companies and we're like individuals that work together often, and which is great. And, you know, we get along, but it doesn't mean I don't work with Tim every single weekend, just like Tim doesn't work with me every single weekend. So there are other companies out there. I guess one of the main companies that we tend to see are companies that are all in-house. So they do everything. They offer photo and video all under the same roof, let's call it. And generally, I would say there is, or maybe this is being very, I don't know, maybe this is touching a touchy subject, but I personally think there's always one person in that team that is pulling the other one up to therefore give them a good name, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's only if they're an all-in house, like maybe if me and Tim teamed up underneath one name, but there are other options out there too, aren't there?
Yeah, for sure. So I think this can be a bit of a common occurrence, and the fact that when you have a photographer and a videographer, that usually the illusion is the photographer runs the show and the videographer is just there to listen to whatever the photographer does and just follow their lead. And you know what, like that's cool. Like if that's something that you want to do, then that's fine. They're not the couples that I book, and they're not the couples that I want to work with. And for a good reason, right? Like we both want to create stories. We both want to produce the best content that we can so we can deliver the most amazing, deliverable for our couple. But like it's something I get all the time. And I do struggle with this with a lot of other photographers that I work with, and it just brings it back to why working with a photographer that is aware of, a videographer's role and presence, like for that day, and what they're actually providing for that couple is the memories in a video form, which is why I think it's really good to highlight this, that there's lots of options out there, but it's really good to get clear on, as a couple, like, what do you want from your film?
Yeah. And the thing as well is that like ultimately for me, like, and I guess for you too, is that like not only we want our couples to have a good day, we want to have a good day too, right? And like I want to make sure that I turn up and whoever I'm working with is invested. And I think there are some companies out there that like there's a person that fronts the business. Let's just say it's someone like me, right? And I've got my company here and I'm a photographer really by trade, let's call it. But then there's like, I might have a videographer that works with me, or I might offer video, but I might not have any videographer that actually works with me at all. And so I'm scrambling like 2 weeks before your wedding, trying to find a videographer to come and shoot your wedding for you. And so you're just getting a contractor on the day and they're not invested in it. Like that's just, they're there for the money and that's about it, right? Where for me and for Tim, when we're there on the day, we're there for you guys. We're there to make sure that your day is amazing. We're there to make sure your day is epic. And realistically, I can shoot something and so can Tim. And we look at it and we go, this is going to look freaking epic when we edit this. And we know exactly straight away, as soon as I take a shot or as soon as we take a clip on the, with video, we're looking at it going, hell yeah, we know exactly what we're doing with this and how we're going to use it. And I think that's a really, really, really big point. That's probably like, if you take anything out of the day or out of this conversation we're having, is that like, on the day we are shooting everything and we're knowing how we're going to use that footage or those photos down the track before it's even got on our computer.
Like it's pretty funny because like we can get pretty excited, right? Like when it's like some epic light, or we know we're just having such a good time, like with a couple, and like they're rocking it, like they're being them. Like, you know, there's some noises that come out.
Yeah. The amount of times I've been called a hype man in the last couple of years is ridiculous. Like, you go and look at my Google reviews. I actually went through my Google reviews for the first time in ages. So it's really bad of me. But I had like a fair few of them that people had done recently, and they were like, ultimate hype man. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, this is so weird. But also I realized on the day, like, I get so excited by good light, or like when a couple does something that's just like natural. It's like, hell yeah, that was epic.
Yeah, like for sure, man. Like, and the big thing, and I know we both kind of like live by this ethos, and it's to really bring out the best in our couples, right? Like, and to do that, you need to know them. You need to know who they are. You need to know their personalities. You need to understand what makes them them. And like, it's a big thing whenever I chat to a new couple, right? Like, I don't just like, you know, if I'm free on a day, like we don't just, I'm free, like just book me. Like that's it. Like we go through a process, we have a chat, like we make sure that we vibe well, because, you know, what other vendor are you going to be spending the most amount of time with?
Like nobody. Like maybe you'll have a good conversation with your celebrant. Do you know what I mean? Prior, because they're like, you know, making you look amazing up there. But other than that, like we definitely, like I say to every couple, I'll spend more time with you two individually and collective than anybody else on the day. So you need to make sure that we get along. And look, I guess especially for like both of us, we're in a position which we're fortunate enough to be in, that if we know we're not going to work well with a couple, or if we just don't vibe, or they're not, you know, we're not all on the same, I guess, wavelength when it comes to your wedding, like we probably can go and book that wedding at another date, you know, or sorry, that date at another date, if that makes sense. You know, and we're in a really good spot like that. So therefore we can be a little bit picky, but we're not being picky because we want to be. We're being picky because we want to make sure that we do your day justice. And I think ultimately for us, that's the most important thing.
Exactly. Like we want to provide a high quality service, and we want to make sure that, you know, you are the right couple, that we can deliver the best results, the best photos, the best video that we can for you.
Absolutely. And I guess if you haven't realized by now, because obviously what we do is we are a singular business, we work together, yes, but that's our jam. And so we're not dissing the people that have companies out there that have multiple shooters working for them and they're just like contractors. Like we're not doing that at all, but we're just trying to show you that there is a difference out there. And look, a lot of the time those companies are cheaper because they're paying a contractor
they're
a
doing
cheaper
volume,
rate.
Bro. Like they're doing, they can do like 300-400 weddings a year. Like it's like,
it's insane. And like, I guess for me and Tim, we're like, I'm like, Tim's probably less than me, but like, you know, I'm at like 70 weddings a year sort of thing. And Tim's probably a little bit less again, because, you know, the volume that video takes to edit at the end of the day is a lot more.
Oh, let's say that for another podcast.
We'll keep that for later. But look, before we get too carried away and we end up talking just about like, you know, how good we are as singular companies and how we don't offer, I guess, other people shooting. Let's talk a little bit. Let's dive into, I guess, our packages individually and what they look like, maybe how they're broken down a little bit. And then, let's just touch base on that, right, and maybe what extras we offer too.
Yeah, perfect. And I suppose like what type of couple do you have to be to really want to book us, I think. So yeah, let's go for it, right? So let's maybe start with photo, I think, because that's photographers are usually booked like first with other than the venue. Let's have a walk through your packages. So how many packages do you offer?
So I offer a couple. So I've got, I guess, 3 main packages. So my 3 main packages I base off coverage only. So, and I guess I used to do all these fancy packages that had different options and different extras and, you know, different amounts of hours. And it just got really confusing because everybody needs something semi-customizable. Like not every single wedding is the same. And I know that everyone needs something different. So I've kind of pared it back in the last maybe 6 months to a year, I guess. And I've kind of gone back to like 3 main packages. So I've got a 6-hour, an 8-hour, and a 10-hour package. Okay. And they're your base packages. And then I also have what I call an all-inclusive. So it's like 10 hours and it's including everything. So it's got a fine art wedding album. It's got an engagement session. It's got 10 hours. It's got the works of pretty much everything that I would typically offer. And so I have those 4 packages. The 4th package is kind of just to show you what you could get if you were at the top end of what I offer. And then I also have an elopement package, which I only offer on a Monday to Thursday date. And so that's usually like a minimum of 3 hours. To be honest, I booked that so much. Like, that's my favorite package, these elopement packages lately. I shot one yesterday. It was freaking sick. Up in the mountains, happy days. It was windy as hell, but photos turned out epic. Anyway, back on track. So they're kind of my base packages. So I've got a 6, 8, and 10-hour package. And then from there, it just balloons out, and, you know, you can add things on, you can take things off, you can add single hours on. There is so much flexibility around what I do. And, you know, ultimately for me, I don't expect you guys to, you know, book me for, let's say, it's August now, and there's people inquiring for like November 2024 at the moment, right? Yeah. Like, I don't expect you for your November 2024 wedding to have the perfect package picked in August in 2022. So I'm always pushing couples to try and pick a package that's going to suit them best at the moment. But I know that there's flexibility around that. I know that, you know, if we get a bit closer to the date, you might need to add 2 hours on. You might want to add an album on. So I try and make sure that my couples are comfortable in picking a package that they can suit their budget now, and they can start to budget towards, but know that there is flexibility and movement in those packages.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And what about like the amount of photos? Like, do you offer, you know, like a certain amount of photos within each coverage package, or?
Not particularly. I don't really have a limit, to be completely honest. Like, the more epic your day is, the more photos you get. And like, I'm not a scab with it. Like, there's no point in me keeping photos hidden on a hard drive. Like, that's so crap, and it's so not 2022. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I'm happy to edit up whatever happens. I guess a lot of people ask me, oh, how many photos do I get? Like, generally, I suppose you would get, at a minimum, 100 photos per hour of shooting. Like, that's kind of a normal gist. So most 8-hour weddings are getting between 800 and 1,000 photos. I suppose 8 hours for me is probably my most popular package. It usually works well, but definitely people are upgrading from there. They're usually adding an extra hour on and things like that down the track. But yeah.
Okay. All right. And then what about like, how do you deliver the photos? Like, is it through a USB?
Yeah, so I've gone to the new age. So I've done away with the USB in the last probably year or so. I've just found that, like, the amount of people that message me and go, hey, Matt, I've lost my USB. Where's my photos? Do I still have them? And it's just so frustrating. And like, to be honest, it became annoying because they actually also were getting an online gallery too. So I guess what I do now is I give everybody gets an online gallery sneak peek within 24 to 48 hours of their wedding. So you'll get a bunch of photos as soon as possible to post them all over those social media as much as you want and tell your family massive, and friends.
Like, that's huge, right? So like, couples don't have to like post the,
no one needs an iPhone selfie, mate.
Photo.
Oh man, it's so frustrating when you see an iPhone selfie from someone you know that like posted that on with a filter on it as well. Terrible. But yeah, so I always try and get those sneak peeks out to people as quick as possible. Yeah. And then 4 to 6 weeks is my turnaround at the moment. When it's busy, it kind of blows out to maybe up to 8 weeks. And that all comes to you via an online gallery. And that online gallery stays there for kind of like eternity / until I decide to stop paying for that online gallery system. But, you know, like, I'd always give couples a heads up just to be like, hey guys, make sure you download those photos. But yeah, that's kind of like, I guess, a bit of a general gist of what my packages look like. As I said, there's heaps of flexibility around what I do. And I suppose it's probably a good time for us to kind of jump into what yours look like, Tim, because I know yours are quite similar to mine, and we've tried to kind of keep them, I guess, in an hour sense, like in line with each other to make it simple for couples. So exactly. I guess,
so
dive into that.
Packages, I think, can be a little bit kind of more confusing. Just because it's not as well understood, like, what is the actual like deliverable. And there's so many videographers that offer different types of packages, and they call the same films different names. So like, I get it. It can be really, really confusing. But yeah, so same deal. So I offer 3 packages. So an elopement package, which is 4 hours, a highlight package, which is 8 hours, and then my top end package, high end package, is 10 hours, and that includes a highlight film, a ceremony film, and a speeches film. So like, again, they're pretty self-explanatory, but essentially the highlight film is that kind of 5-minute creative film that I really spend a lot of energy. Like, I would probably on average spend at least 3 months like building this story for it to become like your wedding film. So,
which is crazy, right? Because that's what, like, when people look at video packages and things like that, like you're saying you spend 3 months on like their wedding film. Like, so I guess when it comes to like dollar value, that's the reason why I guess videographers charge more than other, like there's definitely videographers that are cheaper in life, but there's definitely a lot of videographers that are a bit more expensive than a lot of photographers too. And, you know, that's why I suppose it shows the value in, like, the dollar value in what you're doing, because you're spending 3 months on creating that film for that couple.
Yeah, for sure. And like that's why I don't, you know, I cannot physically shoot 50, 60, 70 weddings a year, because I am so invested in looking at building your story and creating that film that I can realistically only shoot about 35 tops a year. That's it.
Yeah.
Like that is a hard limit, and anything more than that would just be a disservice to the rest of my couples.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe just tell us, so like, I know you mentioned a couple of packages, but does each package, say you do a highlight film, does each package have a different length of highlight film, or is it just like generalized? What's the go there?
Yeah, so the 8 hour package has a kind of 3 to 5 minute highlight film. So look, it's always on the top end. So it's always that like 4.5 to 5 minute mark. And the reason for the discrepancy is because I tend to add between 2 to 3 songs. So sometimes the song can go a little bit longer than others. But yeah, with the 10-hour package, it's actually a 4 to a 6 minute highlight film. So a little bit longer. So it's usually always kind of those 3 songs. And like that's another kind of tedious process to like build like into the story, right? Like music plays such a significant role in building a person's story, and it has to fit their personality, it has to fit their story, like it has to suit their wedding, it has to suit them. And man, like I could go on for hours.
We could talk about music for so long. I feel like we have conversations about music all the time too. Do couples get a choice in music? Would you like, what's that process look like? Because I feel like this is probably a pretty popular question. I know I've even been asked before. If like,
yeah, look, it is. And like the short answer is you have an influence on the song choice 100%. So as part of like every couple, when they book me, we go through an onboarding process, you know, we get to know each other, and there's some questions I ask around, you know, what does the perfect wedding film look like for you? Like, what is your favorite genre? What is your favorite type of songs? Like, what, like collectively as a couple, and also like individually, like what type of music do you love to listen to? And I just think over the years, like I get a good sense of like all of that information when I get to know someone, and then based on the wedding day, like what music is really going to suit like this couple, and how is that going to fit into their wedding film, and how is that going to be built into their story? So, you know, like some weddings can be really, really high energy, right? So like I want, you know, high energy.
You're not going to have like slow burning in a dance. You're going to have like slow dancing in a burning room vibes, you know, a bit of John Mayer going on if it's like,
exactly. You know,
pump up vibes.
Yeah,
you need a bit of Pitbull in your life, mate.
and that's it, right? Like, and again, like I want your wedding film to be an extension of you, right? And if you love to throw some jokes around, you love to have fun, like, you know, you love to be yourself, well then like that song is just going to be basically an influence of your wedding film. It's going to be an influence of you.
And you ask, like, I'm like, and I know you do, but I'm just, you know, putting it out there, like that you ask couples to kind of send you a bit of like inspo and like other films that they like. So you can get a bit of an idea of like whether they like that slow, you know, romantic, slow-mo vibes, or whether they like upbeat and fun, whether they like, you know, just to try and get a bit of an idea as to what that looks like for your final product too, right?
Yeah, so it's a question I ask every couple, and it's really like, what are the films that you connect with? Like, what are your favorite films? Like, they don't have to be mine. Like, I encourage couples to like have a look around. Like, they do not have to be my films, but what are some films that you like actually love? Like, you just see it and you're like, yeah, like I would love something like that. And you know, I have a look at it, even though the couples may not be able to verbally tell me what they like about wedding films. Like by them showing me like these films, I would be able to pick out, you know, like, is it the style of music? Is it the amount of audio? Is it the inclusion of like certain aspects of visuals within the day? Is it the style of the editing? Is it the type of colors that are used? Like there's so many factors within a film that, you know, it's hard for couples to really understand what is it that they want. But by visually showing me, I will be able to build that into, you know, their package and let them know, you know what, like this type of film will be like perfect for you guys. And on the day, like I know straight away. So like, and it's like you said, like, you know, like when, like how your photo is going to turn out based on the light, based on the couple, based on the vibe, like, you know, when like this is going to be absolutely amazing. And it's the same for me. Like I know straight away, like how I'm going to be building like this story and how I'm going to be building this film.
And you've got to remember that as well, especially if you're still editing it like 3 months later, right? Like, and I think that's the biggest positive of like having the person that is filming or the person that is shooting your wedding that is also editing your wedding still there. Like, you know, on the day, they're the person holding that camera. They're doing all that work for you. And I think that's probably the main topic, like I guess around these whole topics of photos and video packages. Like for us, if we can get that across to couples that like, you know, we are the ones that do everything for you. That's why we find that, you know, we value, well, I guess we have a lot of value in what we do because of that. You know, we want to make sure that our couples understand that, you know, we're going to put our blood, sweat and tears literally into like, you know, your finished product. And, you know, not only do we want you guys to be stoked with it, we want to be proud by what we are presenting to you as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, I get so excited when I deliver a film. Like as soon as I deliver it, like I cannot wait to get a message back from couples. Like I cannot wait, man. And like I'm looking at my phone and I'm like,
where is it? Hurry up! Someone contact me. I actually got like 3 really epic messages over the weekend, and one of them was just like swear word city, and then all in capital letters. You always know when you're getting like capital letters and like oh my gods and all this sort of stuff. It's like, you know, everyone gets so excited. So it is pretty epic. It makes you feel good.
It makes it all worth it. Hey, like it honestly does. It makes it all worth it when, you know, it's everything and more. Yeah, so we'll just keep it going. So for the editor, yes, I did not have my headphones in, but yeah. Anyway. Okay, so
we'll just try to finish it off. So just try and wrap it up. Maybe just do that last bit again one more time of like how
there was something packages. I was gonna say as well, which we we haven't even touched on. I can't remember what it was now. But yeah.
How we approach the day collectively and all that sort of stuff. One man band. I feel like we've covered heaps. Let's just wrap it.
Yeah, so how we kind of work together. So the difference between like photographers, like us working together. So that could be a next episode. So we'll just do that.
Let's just do it later.
Okay.
I'll just do a little bit of that wrap up part.
Yeah.
Of that package part. All right, yeah. So I think we're going to start to just wrap it up a little bit here. I feel like we've spoken a lot about packages today and things like that. And I guess the last final thing that we just wanted to add was, me and Tim recently been chatting and we've been trying to work at how we can make this process easier for our couples. I think that, you know, like couples want, especially in this day and age, they want stuff that works for them and keeps it simple, because the wedding planning is hectic. Like it's overwhelming. And so we've tried to, I guess, cut out a couple of emails and just kind of make these processes a little bit more smooth and simple. So we've thrown our packages and mixed them up together. So I guess if you inquire with me, I would send you my packages, but inside that package, I also have an additional page or 2 that has Tim's packages in there. And then Tim has done the same for me. So if you inquire with Above Below Visuals and you were looking for a photographer, that's what we've done. And I guess we've just done that, as I said, to keep it simple, to really show, I guess, value in what we do. And ultimately, we want couples to feel comfortable moving forward with both of us. It doesn't mean you have to book us both. Like, we're not going to be offended. You know, there's flexibility around what we do. And, you know, we understand that not every photographer or not every videographer is for you. There's no hard feelings.
Sure. Oh yeah, look, I think maybe in another episode we'll chat about, you know, the benefits of like booking both of us and what that means, and the difference between, like, you know, when you book a photographer and a videographer that have not worked together, and, you know, what the outcome of
touchy
that
subject.
Might be. But yeah, let's leave that for another one. But yeah, so just to make the process a little easier, because we do work together very often.
Yeah.
So
too much, but that's okay.
I'm getting sick of your face, man. But no, look, it just simplifies the process a bit. It saves you a bit of time. Like if you were keen to lock in vendors that have worked together in the past. And like we said, like we are still two separate businesses. So we still take two separate payments and two different contracts. But it means that you are getting two like amazing vendors who are good at their craft individually that work together collectively.
Yeah, and we value your day. We want to make it epic. And I guess that's ultimately why we are sitting here. We are doing this podcast because we want to make sure that your wedding is epic. We want to make sure that your day is amazing and that it's special for you. And yeah, I think that's it, mate. Let's wrap it up. Let's
easy. Well,
call it a
thanks
night.
everyone for listening. Mum, appreciate.
You got to stop with the mum, bro. But good to chat to you, mate. You take care. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you guys. Enjoy. Bye.